Gear up for a grand slam of gab. This is the Softball Podcast with Zig and Tuna, your number one source for everything NCAA Division I softball. Hot takes, highlights, interviews, season updates, and more. It's all right here. And now your hosts, Andrew Zig Zigger and Matt Big Tuna Alberghini. Play ball!
Welcome to episode 2 of the Softball Podcast with Zig and Tuna. On today's episode, we've got a great interview in store for you guys. It's with Morgan Howe. She played in Athletes Unlimited, Arizona State and Fresno State, and will be playing in the WPF this summer with the Vipers. Hope you guys enjoy. Again, please like, comment, subscribe on all major platforms at Zig and Tuna SB. Please like, subscribe, and share. We'd really appreciate it. And we hope you guys enjoy this interview and all upcoming episodes from the Zig and Tuna Softball Podcast.
Give me my theme music.
Welcome to episode 2 of Zig and Tuna. We got our guest here, Morgan Howe. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. How are y'all?
We're doing great.
I'm hanging in there. I got COVID right now, so
Oh no.
got to
oh,
make
no.
this work, though. Morgan
Oh.
Howe's coming on the show. We got to be here. Got to make it work.
Well, how are you? How are you feeling? What kind of symptoms have you felt?
Mostly it's just like congestion up here. Like I feel like I
Uh-huh.
got a balloon in my head. But
Mm.
besides that, not too bad. I mean, I get a fever every once in a while, and that part sucks, but
Yeah.
we're working through it. We'll be all right.
I got COVID. I don't know where I thought that I'd be good. I'd make it out of this without having it once. I don't know what thought in my mind was just I am gonna be that one, but I ended up getting it literally a couple days before New Year's, so I had to stay inside for New Year's.
Ugh.
And my parents, they put a little glass of champagne outside my little room door and everything. It was miserable. It sucked, and all my friends were having fun. And I was just watching on Snapchat and on Instagram, and I'm like, damn, I'm really in the house right now. I all the way have COVID. And I was unwell too. I had a fever. I'm vaccinated too, which I thought was even crazier. But I think it only lasted 3 days or something. I didn't have it for, I wasn't down and out for the count for a whole week and a half,
Mhm.
But yeah, it was nuts. I really was convinced that I wasn't going to get it, and I did.
Yeah, same here. I thought I was going to get through this thing unscathed, and then here I am. But
I mean,
Day-
how long have
day
you been
3.
traveling?
day
You've
3
been
for me.
traveling, coaching for how long, and
Right?
never got it?
Yeah, just got
Yeah.
lucky, I guess.
Got
Got lucky until now. The luck ran out.
So,
well,
We'll start
almost
this off. For the listeners out here, I think this is going to be a good one. We're excited. Definitely to see that personality you and just see where this goes. So, but some background on Morgan, from California, started off at Fresno State and then transferred to Arizona State. And then obviously going into the National Pro Fast Pitch leagues with AU and now with the Vipers. So we'll start off with all the awards you got. 2016 and 17 all academic Mountain West. 2017 Mountain West Scholar Athlete. 2017 All Mountain West First Team. 2017 NFCA All Pacific Region Second Team. 2018 NFCA All West Region Second Team. 2018 All Pac-12 Second Team. 2019 All Pac-12 First Team. 2019 NFCA All American, and 2019 NFCA All West Region First Team. I think that pretty much sums it up for the awesome career that you had at obviously not just one university, but two of them. And really talking about that, I think that's huge right now with all the transfer portals and what's going on now with you see a lot of girls just going from one school to the next. What was your background on that? Why did you make your decision and what led you to that success at both universities?
I mean, it was definitely hard all around, both sides of that question. So I guess I can just give you my story, and I think I might answer both. But I got recruited to go to Fresno State. I got recruited by Trisha Ford. She was my coach my freshman year, and I'm sure it's like this for a lot of incoming freshmen, but it's hard. I mean, essentially you're, coming from your travel ball team where you may or may not be like one of the better players on your team. I mean, of all the travel girls that got recruited, you got recruited and you're going to a Division I school. So the adjustment period for, I think, all incoming freshmen is kind of tough. I didn't start right away. I felt like I didn't even know how to play softball because Coach Ford, Coach Stubbs, Coach Harger, Coach Pick, everyone was so like picky fundamentally. And ultimately, hindsight, you're looking back and you're like, wow, yeah, I did need to be picked apart like that to be where I have become. But I mean, it was tough. You think you don't know how to play softball. Coach Ford is, oh, I love your swing. Like, I can't wait for you to be here. And the next thing you know, like, you aren't even allowed to swing a bat yet. Like, you have to do all these drills right first. So, confidence is definitely down the drain, and, it's tough. So, I mean, it was just tough. I mean, in terms of being successful, I mean, it just felt like that was impossible because everything I was doing was just wrong. But eventually you get around the right people. You get a couple seniors that, grab you under their wing and they're like, all right, come on, Howe, we're going to go put some extra work in. We're going to get this right. And then it becomes, okay, it's really not that bad. It's really not that hard. And, you just focus on this drill, focus on this particular drill or this particular process, and we'll be fine. So I didn't start my freshman year very much at all. I got a lot of pinch hit opportunities. Yeah, well, I got a lot of pinch hit opportunities, and then later in the season, I kind of flip-flopped with our DP. So she was starting as a DP all the time. I was just kind of getting thrown into pinch hit, and then we kind of switched. I earned that DP role. She was pinch hitting, and that was towards the end of the season. And then in my end of the fall meeting, Coach Ford kind of basically said, I think then I was looking forward to going home. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I called my dad in the fall, like, Dad, I need you to come pick me up. Like, I can't do it. Oh my God, it was awful. He's like, all right, well, pack up. I'll be there in 6 hours because it's a 6-hour drive. And he'd call me like 5 hours later. He's like, how are you doing? I'm like, are you coming? And he's like, Morgan, no, I'm not. But I passed. No, you didn't. So Coach Ford, I was so excited to go home for summer. Coach Ford looked at me and was like, listen, in order for you to be successful this next year, like, I think you should stay, and I think you should work out with our trainer and like get into better shape. Cause that was my issue the entire freshman year, was I was never in shape. I never weightlifted. I never had conditioning or anything like that. Like when I was in travel ball. So coming in, I had my summer packet. I was like, oh, I got this, whatever. And then we run our first shuttle test and I'm like, 90, 93, crossing the line on our 300-yard shuttle. Oh, good. So she's like, I think you should stay. We're losing an outfielder. Like you're going to have, a chance again to like really earn that starting spot out there, blah, blah, blah. But I think you should stay. So again, thankful for my friends in my upperclassmen. They were like, okay, we're going to stay too. Like, don't be afraid. Like, come on. So I stayed that summer. And it was funny. In the locker room, I think before we were leaving to go to UCLA, we heard that the Arizona State head coaching position was open, and we were joking in the locker room like, oh no, Coach Ward's not going to leave us. There's no way. Coach Ward wouldn't leave us. No way. Like, no way. And then one person would be like, oh, well, but I think they're interested in Coach Ward. I'm like, nah, she wouldn't leave us. Like, she loves us too much. And then literally like, it feels like a month, but a month into the summer, we get that call like, hey guys, like, this is really hard, but it's a family and it's a life decision. Like I can't pass it up. So she left us. And I was actually trying to leave that summer because we didn't have a coaching staff up until I think August. Like we're coming into the fall getting ready for school and we still didn't have a staff. But I was trying to leave and they basically said we're denying all requests to transfer. And at that point too, there was no transfer portal. It was all, you put in a request to transfer, you have to go get a written letter of something from your AD, and you have to get this, and that, and go through this meeting and that. And it was like, we're not going to let you transfer by all means necessary unless you jump through all these hurdles and hoops and whatnot. And that's what we did.
Where were you looking to transfer?
Year. Anywhere.
Okay. So you didn't have anything in mind. You were just.
Yeah. And same when I was actually recruited to go to school, all I knew was that I wanted to play softball in college. I never watched softball. I never did anything but play travel ball. Like college was so like, I didn't even know that you could go to college and play softball until I was maybe a freshman in high school. Like,
so what put you to Coach Ford in that situation in Fresno State? Just her personality, how she runs the ship and how she is?
I mean, well, first and foremost, like I grew up down the street from San Diego State. So, I mean, to me, that's one of the biggest schools I've ever seen in my life, you know? And then I'd take my visit out to Fresno State and I was like, wow, like this stadium, this campus. I mean, at the time when you're so young, you're like, ooh, ah. And then hindsight, you're like, wow, it's so small. But no, it was fun. What drew me to Fresno State was like kind of like the culture in Fresno. I mean, the only thing in Fresno is Fresno State. So everybody and their mothers comes out to these sporting events, no matter what event it is. And then the other thing, which is obviously Coach Ford. She is such a mama bear, such a family, such a, tight knit kind of person. I felt cared for like as a human. I didn't think that it was all business, just straight softball all the time. I felt, okay, she's going to take care of me and she's going to build me as a human, not just, as a player. I also think it says a lot when like she remembers everything about you. So, oh, how's your sister? How's your brother? How's your mom? How's your dad doing? Like, because my parents both wouldn't be coming on these visits with me. It'd be one or the other, just because work and my brother and my sister and whatever. So she just knew or made you feel very cared for, very like known. But that's what drew me to Fresno State initially. But I was just looking to go anywhere. And even then I didn't really understand the conferences. Like I didn't understand postseason. I didn't understand anything. Like I didn't understand that me in the Mountain West was like a mid-major conference. Like I didn't know Pac-12 and the SEC and the ACC and the Big Ten were like these huge, whatever. I just blindly am like, okay, let's do it,
So that leads to, go ahead.
So that leads to, I didn't leave because they wouldn't let me leave. They're like, we have to protect the program. We want you to give this new staff a chance, XYZ. And that's what we did. It was UC Riverside staff that came in. So Linda Garza, Jody Cox. That year we had Schultz. He's at Boise State right now, I think. Mm-hmm. He was the hitting coach at Oregon after Fresno State.
Yep.
So we had Schultz there with us, and he was awesome. But I just felt like with Coach Garza, it was very her way, their highway, and it could be completely ass backwards wrong. And it was just like, this is it. Force that third every time. Like,
so was that
no sense?
Did that hit hard having Coach Ford to doing that in that year, knowing you committed to Coach Ford that way, and then she leaves, and then was it just keep your head down, play well, see what opens up, knowing that, I mean, 371 with 15 games started at the end of your freshman career, it's pretty good, showing that you made that adjustment. And then that second year you come in and just have 52 games started, 418, I mean, 64 hits and just 40 RBIs. I mean, you were pretty unstoppable there at one point. I mean, more base on balls and strikeouts. Like, was it just putting my head down, I'm working hard, I'm going to get out of here? Or what was your thought process?
Like, yes and no. I think, so yes, put your head down and just play the game and just play how you know how to play. I mean, it's not going to make sense and it's never making sense. So it is what it is. Just keep going. But I also think Coach Ford had instilled such a great culture within our team. Like, I have never been a part of a team that just loves each other so much the way that it was at Fresno. Like, everybody was close to everybody and it wasn't fake. And if you had an issue, y'all talked about it. Like, it was culture, you know what I mean? So when she left, we still had our culture. We still had us. We still had the team. So that didn't change. And I think that that's what I held on to was just, you know, softball wise, this might not be the place right now, but hold on to this team, hold on to, you know, your friends and your sisters, and, you know, we'll get through it together. And I think that's what my mindset was at the time, especially because, you know, like my freshman year, being broken down fundamentally and feeling like I didn't know how to do anything. With this new staff, it was kind of like the complete opposite. It was just like, okay, go out there. So, you know, you have what you learned, but without like constantly being told that, you know, that's wrong, fix this, fix that, because that, like, you had a lot more of like, okay, it's okay, like, let's run it back, like, it's fine. Because I mean, she wasn't looking for the same things that they were looking for, but my teammates were like, hey, just also be mindful of that. Like, we could all hold each other accountable. So I would say like that was kind of my mindset, was like, you know, just play, enjoy this time with everybody. And then, you know, and that was the other thing that I loved so much, is like my best friends that came out of Fresno, like they were the ones encouraging me, like, hey, we're not going to leave because we only have one more year and like it's just not worth it to us, but like you have two, like go be where you're going to be happy. You should be not here, like you should be playing somewhere else, like you could do way bigger things at way bigger places, like we're not going to be upset. So that was another big push for me. Transferring, like I said, I didn't have the portal, so it was hurdles and hoops for me. Fresno State tried to say that if a head coach leaves like before the end of their contract on like their own will, they're going to block that school, or that school is blocked for 4 years, so you can't transfer there. And it wasn't an NCAA rule, because the NCAA rules, or maybe it's a Mountain West rule or like conference rule, but like if you transfer within conference, you have to sit out a year.
Yes.
We weren't transferring within conference. I'm not gonna say we, but like I wasn't transferring within conference. I was trying to go somewhere else. But Arizona State, because Coach Ford was there, was blocked for 4 years. And they tried to say it was an NCAA rule. Well, we looked through like the student athlete handbook. We looked through the NCAA handbook. Like we looked through everything. And I say we because there was a few other of us transferring out as well. And so we were all kind of helping each other, like, okay, well, where are these rules? Do you see them? So they tried to say it was NCAA, and then they tried to say it was in their own student athlete handbook. Again, looked through them both, not a thing there. So we had to go in front of like a board of, God, I can't remember what it was exactly called, but it was like a board of like
Trustees.
Random professors, maybe trustees, but it was random professors, like random person in the athletic department, or random person here, a random person there. You kind of had to like plead your case. Like, this is why I want to leave. This is why we're being held. Tell me where this rule is. Got our thing granted. We were able to like get our request for transfer and our, permission to talk to schools and whatnot. And at the time too, I don't know how the portal works now, but you had to have like papers, like documented papers of, you have this, you have that, and now you can go talk. And like if other coaches were trying to talk to you, hey, do you have this, this, and that to show me that like you have been released? So I think I was reached out to by a few schools. Michigan was one of them, Arizona State, and Fullerton. I wasn't going to get any money at Michigan. I wasn't getting any money at Arizona State, and I was going to get money at Fullerton. To me, Fullerton has a great program. I just felt like if I was going to Fullerton, like what was the point of transferring? Like now that I understand the conferences a little bit more and like the level of play between conferences, I feel like the Mountain West and the Big West kind of maybe go head to head. Like they're kind of on the same wavelength. Thought Michigan would be a great place to go. Big football school. So for a whole college experience type, like that would be fun. And then obviously Arizona State is a Pac-12 school. So, I mean, you're going to see better softball. And I know Coach Ford. Initially, I actually like committed and verbally committed to Michigan. My family's diehard Ohio State fans. So
oh, gross.
My family was also telling me like, go, like, we want you to go there. The degree from Michigan is, from Arizona State. Come on. So I kind of made that decision for them. And I was excited, but I just knew it wasn't what I wanted. So I had to call Hutch and be like, Hutch, I'm so sorry. Like I kind of spoke too soon. I made that decision for my family and not really for me. I just know home is at ASU with Coach Ford. Like I can't give that up. So she understood. She was really really nice about it. And then I transferred. At like going into ASU, this is kind of like my journey. I refused to be that person that was like back of the pack, like refused to be that person that was weighing everybody down. So, I mean, I ran, all I did was run all summer. I ran like 4 shuttles in the morning, 4 shuttles at night. I was passing this stupid test, like no ifs, ands, buts. And I think, I don't want to say I like had pressure, but I just had like this like mental of like, I just refused. I refused to let this team down. And it had nothing to do with I'm going to start. It had nothing to do with I want to be in the lineup. It was like, I'm just not going to be the weakest link. I refuse. And after that, I think everything, I'm not gonna say everything came pretty easy, but I knew the fundamentals because I had it for a year at Fresno. It was a pretty easy transition. It was just tough because, sorry.
No, do you think that culture and knowing what you were stepping into with Coach Ford was huge, having that relationship already and knowing what she expected and so on? Because I mean, obviously you went there and showed off and I mean, hit 380 over 2 years, 361 and 402 with like 135 hits and 20 home runs. And I mean, 103 RBIs. That's no joke. Like jumping from a mid-major to that for some people might have been hard. And then you just say, how hard you went into and worked. And it probably slowed the game down. If you're working that hard off the field, when you get in between the lines, how hard can it be because you work that hard? But do you think, I would love to touch on that culture. You talked about that culture and so on and so forth. Do you think her culture and being so welcoming made that transaction easier? And what's one thing, especially for girls that's going to listen to this and all that and making decisions, what's one thing that like she does culture wise or that is awesome and that, you would tell anybody to look for? Because I know people's jumping because of, how they're being treated or how coaches do this and do that. Like, what would you say that make your list, or what would you say about that, going from one school to another, but following a coach that really led you to a lot of success, but also growing as an individual?
Yeah. So I would say that her culture is 100% one of the biggest reasons why I love playing in her program. I will say that when I was there, she was still in a transition period, and Arizona State, I mean, those girls that I played with had been through it. They've had like, I want to say 2 or 3 different coaching changes within 4 years. Like they had no type of consistency whatsoever. So, I mean, it's hard. Like you go from, I mean, at least for them, you go from just constantly not knowing what's going on to like now having a coach that like just cares so much. I feel like, I don't want to say there was butting heads, but like butting heads a little bit. Cause I can tell you like I mean, I hate to say it as bluntly as this, but like the team, I don't think loved each other the way that I've been a part of other teams. I mean, I knew the culture she can create. She was still trying to build that among a bunch of girls that never knew her before. And it's tough. So I think it was just, stay the course. And I don't want to say put my head down and keep working, but that's really what I did. I used to be way more obsessed with softball than I am now, or than I am now. And I just found hitting extra fun. I found figuring it out fun. I would love to spend an hour after practice just fixing what I didn't do right. Like it was easy. I don't want to say easy because that's not it, but I just loved putting in the work. I loved putting in the time. That's where I found like peace and where I found like my sanctuary. For
everyone out there too, like her swing's pure and that's huge. I mean, Tuna, you can chime in here too. Us being coaches, even at the Division I level, we don't have a lot of people who's going to put that extra time in. They're going to be doing work, or they're going to go out, or they're going to do this. Like if you can find that, do those slices and that's your sanctuary. That's what made you feel good. That's what made you probably do better in school and everything else, because you got your aggression out. You got everything out of yourself, right. But also you knew I would say, I don't know, you knew like this is gonna make me better. I want to be great.
100%. I also think that because I will say, I mean, my freshman year I went out a lot. I felt like I was doing so much wrong at the field all the time that I just like, all right, I don't even want to be there. We're just gonna go out and we're just gonna have a good time. So I mean, it's definitely, you know, it's how you kind of deal with it. I also think me being in the mindset going in my junior year to ASU of just I refused to be the weakest link, like that played a really big factor too. I just refused to be the one that was consistently failing. I didn't want to be that person. I felt like, you know, these girls were all recruited to play at a Pac-12 school, so they're obviously, you know, fucking good to say the least. So, you know, you better make sure that you're up there, you know. But to go back to that original question, in terms of, you know, what to put on your list, what to look for, I think, you know, it's as simple as like your coach wanting to actually get to know you and get to know where you're from and what makes you you. Who were you raised by? You know, what are kind of like your values? What do you, when you walk around day to day, like what do you pride yourself in? You know, are you somebody that, you know, is kind and attentive to detail? Like, I mean, because they're recruiting personalities too. You know, are you kind? Are you, you know, do you do things honestly? Are you kind of a positive person? Do you try to get people to come with you, or are you very like standoffish, you know, this and that? But I think it goes both ways. You're kind of recruiting coaches too, you know, like, so I think, I mean, it's hard because, you know, when you go on your visit, everyone's kind of putting on a show. But if you're listening to those side conversations when you are with your host and you are listening and kind of like paying attention to what's going on and how people are acting and body language and stuff, like you can tell if there's a team that's meshing and if there's a team that's not meshing. Like you can tell the energy in the room. So I would just say, like, you know, look for that, be mindful of those things. Does your coach ask, you know, and try to get to know you on a personal level instead of just the X's and O's and the, you know, this stat for that stat? So that's just like very general things that I would look for. Coach Ford, just a mama bear off the bat. She had 2 kids running around when I was on my visit. You know, her husband was there every day. So, I mean, just a very family oriented mom. So, I mean, how you don't bring that to the softball field, you know, easy.
And it speaks volumes on her. I mean, there's not a lot of people that turn down Hutch, so it just speaks volumes on who she is as a person, and also like how you want to be part of that foundation. Because I feel like that team, especially that your senior year, that team, like that was the foundation that now they're rolling into supers with, and really got it rolling.
And it makes me emotional too, because I see them, you know, this year, and they just look like they love each other. They look like that culture is finally there. And Coach Ford told me when I was like on my visit, you know, she did say, like, you know, it's not all together yet. Like, we're still rebuilding. So, you know, you're going to be part of that foundation. And I'm telling you now, it's not going to be figured out by the end of your time here, but just know, like, because of you, it's going to happen. So it makes me feel really good. It makes me emotional sometimes, because I'm like, damn, like I want to be on that team. But at the same time, like, I had so much fun when I was there that like I wouldn't trade that. I also don't want to get stuck in COVID either. So
That's cool though.
It's really cool to see them where they are right now.
Yeah, I'm sure you're a proud alum and just rooting them on too. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you see the videos, all the alum and like Steph at UCF and all the UCF alum and just so everybody. Yeah. And I feel like seeing Arizona State come through there and do what they've done all year, and then kind of get disrespected at the selection committee and be bumped back as far as they did, even though they won everything. And I feel like there's just that chip on their shoulder, and you can really see it when they're playing together, how tight they are and tight knit and really what's coming through, which that's awesome. So 4 great years, got out, headed to Florida. I'm sure not thinking anything, and then you get a call for AU. How'd that feel, being a manager at Florida and then jumping into that?
I mean, after graduating, My emotional roller coaster has never been so freaking nuts. I mean, like, I just felt like after we lost our regional, we never made it out of Tuscaloosa regional. I mean, I like felt like I hit rock bottom. I was like, what the hell am I gonna do? I didn't get drafted. And all over the summer, I was emailing Pride. I was emailing who else was in the MPF. I was emailing the Bandits. I was emailing everybody,
Yeah.
trying to see if I could play anywhere. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to play. I literally wrote that in my email. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to play, or even just be on the team.
Yeah.
So I got nothing. By the way, I got no responses. I was just like, wow, this fucking sucks. Like, I have so much more to give. I am hungry. Like, I'm ready to compete, and like I have nowhere to direct that energy. So I kind of got in that mindset of like, all right, well, if we can't play, then we're gonna coach. We're gonna be around as long as we can. And so I decided to go get my master's. I decided to be a GA. Who wouldn't want to be a GA at the University of Florida with their rap sheet? So took that opportunity and ran with it. I went and tried out for California Commotion, which is going to be the first NPF team in California after like a really long time. Made it, and that was in February. And then COVID happened a couple months later, so I was going to play over the summer, and then I remember being at DBAT in Scottsdale. I was hanging out with my friend Skylar, who also played at Arizona State with me. She was like the camp coordinator for DBAT. But I was just messing around, whatever. And then Kamalani Dung, she graduated from Cal, went to Fresno State with me, was my roommate my freshman year. She texted me and was like, hey, like, have you heard about this Athletes Unlimited stuff? And I was like, I mean, kind of, not really. Like, I've kind of seen it, but I haven't really put any thought into it. She's like, well, I'm playing, like, you need to get on this ASAP. Like, you need to figure out how to get in here. And I was like, okay. So I knew Vic because I had been working out with Team Canada over that fall of 2019. And I texted Vic and I was like, hey, like, how do I get in here? Like, is there any room? And she's like, well, we have like a backup kind of list. Like, basically, if somebody goes down, there's like a person to replace them.
And for everybody out there listening, Victoria Hayward was the first one to sign with AU. And really headed it real big time and got a bunch of people in. So anyways, go ahead and keep going. I just want to throw that in there.
Yes. I was like, yep, put me on that list, sign me up, whatever. Because at least, like, I mean, I was praying that nobody did get hurt. But I mean, at least if somebody did, because injuries always happen, I could be there. And then she texted me, it was either hours later or the next day, and was just like, wait, like, what position do you play? And I was like, I'm an outfielder. She's like, that's what I thought. Somebody remembered you wrong. We actually have a position, like a spot open. Do you want it? And I was like, is that even a question? Like, why would you even ask that? Like, anyways. So then that literal next day I was on like I guess orientation Zoom, which kind of broke down like point system, whatever, this and that. And the next thing you know, I was flying out to Chicago and I was playing. So, I mean, again, emotional roller coaster. I mean, you think you're at rock bottom and then all of a sudden you're going just like straight upwards, not even at an angle, just like straight.
It seems like that just was like your formula though. Like, getting there, coach freshman year was like, yeah, you got it. You earned your spot type thing. Let's work hard this summer. Then she leaves and you just work hard, go into Arizona State, same thing, and just earn it always. And I mean, obviously you were putting your work in because what was it? In 2020 season, you ranked number 25 on the leaderboard with 1,270 points, hit 3 home runs, 4 doubles and 12 RBIs for a 333 average. I mean, because there was no other league going on. So you were looking at the lead of the elite, and top 25 in points is impressive.
What kind of
very shocked.
What kind of drives your persistence there? Because I feel like it all comes back to you persevering through something that's gone on in your career to then overcome it. So what motivates you? Yeah.
I think I just love it. And that could be me blindly saying, like, I've never done anything else and this is all I know. But truthfully, like, I do love it. It gets frustrating and it gets really emotional, but I just love it. And it's still taxing now because, you know, you're coming into those years where you can't really just go to school and avoid grown-up life. And even now it's hard because, you know, what you're getting paid, you can't really live off of for an entire year. I mean, unless you lived in a shack, maybe out of your car or something. And even then you have to pay for gas. So, I mean, like it's not there yet. And so you have to find jobs, and with finding a job, like, okay, well, if I go try to find something professional that pays me on like a salary, are you going to let me leave for a couple months to go play softball? I know that's like crazy, but are they going to let me leave? Do I find something temporary that's like not really adding to my resume by any means, like, but still paying the bills? So, I mean, it's tough. And even then, this is all up and down. Yeah, I mean, I think just above it all, I just love it. And I think after AU season 2 is when I think I've had my very first time contemplating. I don't want to say contemplating, but I've had really just weird and different and thoughts I've never had about softball before. Like, I've always loved it, and I've never been able to walk away from it. I've always had to have a hand in it in some way. But like, after season 2, I did not do too hot. I wasn't playing as much. I definitely was not performing how I was the year before. And I almost kind of like resented softball.
Do you think stepping away and kind of going to bartending school and doing something like that really you know, allowed you to start loving it again?
I think it was healthy for me, for sure, to do something besides softball, because I can remember too. So, I mean, when COVID happened, you know, we were all in quarantine up until season 1, when we were still kind of in our own bubble, but we were playing softball, and that's probably like the most free we had been in months. Over quarantine though, when you could do outside stuff, I was giving lessons and I loved it. And then after season 1, I went back. I had to finish my master's at Florida, and then I came home. I never came home before season 2. I didn't actually finish GAing with Florida because I was trying to play, and it was too inconsistent for Coach Walton. So he just said, never mind, like, we'll figure it out. Just, you know, go finish your school and go play, and don't worry about it. So didn't really finish GAing with them. Never left Florida really for more than like a couple weeks at a time. And then I was just in Florida up until season 2. And after season 2, I was thinking about going into lessons again. But like, I like couldn't bring myself to be at the field. Like, I was so angry with myself, first of all, and then angry at like how I performed, and then just angry with like all these thoughts that I was having about softball, that like I would try to go give a lesson and I just couldn't. Like, I couldn't mentally be there for that lesson. And I'm someone that brings the energy, like, I like to think. Especially at the softball field, like, I feel like there's rarely a time that I'm not like upbeat and like, let's do this. I mean, I get angry. I'm a psychopath in the box, like, especially in the cages, but I feel like when other people are around, a lot of people are around, I like kind of push the negativity out.
For anybody that doesn't know her, if you see her out on the field, or you see her around, if you see her at a Pro Swings event, which is where I met her doing Pro Swing stuff, there could be anybody in the game. Kat Osterman, Jesse, anybody, the whole crowd's going to be around her. Like, just her personality, and the girls love to go, and the parents, and they're just around her. Like, if there's a big crowd, you know where Morgan is. And that's the thing that draws, I think, a lot of people to you. And I think that's why you are so successful, because they see the grind, but they also see how like anybody can approach you, and you're going to sign an autograph for anybody. You're going to talk to any girl that comes up. And I feel like the first time you came to Pro Swings, they introduced you, everybody was like, who is this? And the second time and third time, it was like, screw everybody from Florida and Florida State. Like, they were going straight to you. And I think for anybody out there listening, like, that's the one thing that drives her, but also drives everybody to kind of come to her and lead, is just that personality and you're welcoming to everybody and you'll answer a question. And like you just said, like you don't see any negativity. Like you would never guess that. And I mean, I think you were fighting that when you came to the home run derby last year and still, showed out and was there for everybody. And I think that's one of the great things about you. And I'm sure you wouldn't say that, but everyone around, if it's Steph, if it's anybody, I'm sure any of your teammates, that would be like one of the biggest things is just like, you never know when you're down because you never show it and you just keep pushing. And that's awesome. And you're super successful because of that. I think that's why you've, done everything you have done and succeeded at the level that you have that, a lot of people could never touch.
Yeah. I definitely, I just hate to be that person that's like bringing everybody down. So if I'm ever going through it, you're never going to know. And I will say that last home run derby, I definitely was not in a mental place to be around at the field, but bigger than me, the event's bigger than me. And it was nice to be there with, that circle and that group. And it ended up being really good for me, but same with bartending. I think just being away from the softball field, having something that has nothing to do with softball. These people have no idea who I am. Like I can have this random conversation and people can just simply know me as a human being and don't even know anything about me, especially on the softball side. I just felt normal. And I hate to say the word normal because like, if you're away from the sport, that doesn't mean that you're normal because there's a lot of other things that people do that are quote unquote normal or outside of sport that just isn't normal, if that makes sense. But to me, outside of sport is normal. So I think doing that gave me my very first, like, again, I don't want to call it a sanctuary because the bar is disgusting, but bar is so gross. But it just like gave me a space away from softball, if that makes sense. And I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to talk about it. I didn't have to be any type of mental near it. And it's actually been really fun. It's been really fun. I make good money. And it's allowed me to actually ease back into softball the way that I want to and the way that I can. And I actually broke down. Oh my gosh, I had like the biggest mental breakdown when I was at home. Because my dad, I mean, that was our thing. That's always our thing, is to go hit front toss. He coaches at my high school still so that he has the keys to the field and the keys to the balls so that we can go hit on the field whenever I want. So this whole time, hey, playa, that's his thing. Hey, playa, like, do you want to go hit? Do you want to go throw today? Do you want to, like, just not trying to push me, just like, hey, I'm available if you need it. And I mean, every time he would send me a text or every time he would tell me, I would just boo-hoo, break down in tears. Like, I can't do it. I can't go out there. I just can't. Like, I don't want to. I don't care to. Like, AU season 2 was just really tough on my mental. I just put so much pressure on myself that I didn't have to. I felt like I needed to prove something that I did not need to prove. And then I wasn't doing well, and then I wasn't playing, and like, back to the whole thing of you get so used to playing all the time, and then now you're sitting the bench and you're like, what the heck? And you're good, but like, you're not showing it, and then you go try to do too much, and it was tough. And this is exactly what I told my dad. I was like, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to go hit. I don't want to go throw because I don't want it to feel good. I don't want it to feel good. Because at the time too, I mean, you have to be invited back to AU. So at the time, there's no way in hell I'm getting invited back. And there's no way that the WPF is going to pick me up after last season. I mean, that was just piss poor, like, So I'm like, I don't want to go out there, and I don't want it to feel good. I don't want to have a great hitting session. I don't want to have a great rep session in the outfield because I have nowhere to put it. And I think that's the most mentally taxing part about this pro stuff is like, you never know, at least for me. It might be different if you're a bigger name, if everybody knows you and you have freaking 40,000 followers on Instagram and Twitter, and like your name is just this big name that everybody's known. But for us that don't have the bigger names and only have a couple thousand followers on Instagram and are very year-to-year contracts, like, it sucks and it's hard, and I don't think everybody understands that.
So can we go a little bit into detail on that? Because like, your mental through college and everything seemed to always pull you through everything. So
Yeah.
how did you get through that? What helped you? Like, I know, especially in today's day and age with COVID and everything else, the athletes coming up and the high schoolers, the travel ballers, even the college players, like, I think they could, maybe listen to you and learn a little bit and all that kind of stuff. What did you use? What helps you get through this? Like, can you touch on that?
I think with, through college, like I said, I just loved it and I just refused to be that weakest link. But I also think, you knew it was next. You knew that you were going back to school. You knew that you were going to have to pass that fitness test. You knew what the fall was going to look like. You knew that you were coming back. There was no question about that. Unless your coach sat you down, and I've had that conversation or two at like before of, you might not play, you might not get much time this season. Like, I didn't get the full conversation of you might want to look at other schools, but I definitely got the, if you don't get in shape, you're probably not going to play. And I was a big girl, but that's just, it wasn't really mentally taxing in the sense of you didn't know where you're going to be. I will say transferring was kind of tough just because it was, again, hoops and hurdles. And you're like, well, even after all that, am I going to land somewhere? But there's always somewhere looking for someone. You might not get money. I didn't get money my junior year. I had to take out loans and then I earned money my senior year. But if you love the game that much, you'll figure it out. So I would
with the
say
pro ball, you don't have that?
Pro, you don't have that.
Yes.
especially if, and I don't want to say you're me because it's not me. There's a lot of other people that are the same, but especially if you come from, I'm sorry.
Is it the tiers? Like, you have your catch, you have your, all of that. And then underneath you have like that middle tier where you have to show out, or what's next?
And that's exactly how I would phrase it. I would say if you put it on a tier system, you have your multi-year All-Americans, you're just really renowned. They've been GOATs from the start, whatever. And then you have your middle tier where maybe 1 or 2 time All-American, have a lot of conference accolades, but like we're not really showing out on the big stage because we don't really maybe get to the big stage every year. And then, you have your, I hate the whole high, low, middle, whatever tiers, but then you have your girls that come just show out of nowhere and you don't know where they're from, but they're really good and here they are. And I think if you're not in that top tier, it's a year-to-year thing, and it's a year-to-year thing. So, and if you don't do well, we don't know you enough. We don't know that you're one of those high tier persons that are just, we know you. You're gonna get it eventually. It's like you're on a really tight leash, or a tighter leash, and then it just gets tighter and tighter. So, and that's just how I personally feel.
Yeah.
Being in this tier, I guess you could say, because I just feel like, like I said, when you're known, you can have a slump, but everybody knows you're going to get out of it because of everything you've ever done in your career. And I might be that same type of player, but because nobody's known who I am, they don't know that I'm going to give me another year and we're going to have a whole different story. We're going to have a whole different season than the year before. So it just really sucks, and it's really mentally taxing to be in that waiting game for months on end. Because and again, it also sounds, this is a really negative thought, but why am I going to go out and spend time and spend money getting myself ready for a season that might not happen for me? And I know that's a really negative way to think about it, but at the same time, so I'm going to spend months figuring it out and getting back to where I'm supposed to be, and then potentially not get offered. And then now what?
I would like to turn that around too. I would like to turn that around too, because in that thought process, time and money, when in a women's pro sport, you guys aren't getting what you guys need to get to be able to live, to be able to play, to be able to do all that. And for anybody out there thinking, well, you got to think in a male sport, they're getting that pay that they need up front. And then that's what they're focusing on. They don't have to focus on all these other jobs. You guys are bartending. You guys are working your 9 to 5s. You guys are coaching. You guys are doing whatever you can to keep that dream alive. So how can you sometimes with that money when you don't have it? And it makes it super hard. And that was what I was going to say. A lot of you girls now, are building something, whether it's AU, whether it is this new league with Smash It Sports like you're playing for and all that. How do you keep going and approaching it, knowing you're at that bottom half and you're probably not going to see the riches of it in 10, 5, hopefully 5 years, but 5, 10, 15 years? Is it just that attitude and that, hey, I would love to help these next girls out. I want to help these next girls out, and I want to see them succeed, and I want to see them make that money. And if it has to be me being at that forefront with all these other players, I'm game for it. Is that the kind of thought process and what keeps you driving these days?
100%. I would say that's probably like 60%. 60% of what drives me, but I think the other 40 is just that I love it, and I'm always going to love it. Yes, to answer in short, yes.
Well, the thing that's tough too is there's turnover every year, and there's such a limit on the number of spots in these leagues.
Yeah.
And so the fact that, we're talking about these different tiers, that there is those top tiers that get to stay, but then the middle tier has to then fight off other middle tier over and over and over and over. And it's just a compiling issue where if we had enough people that were invested in the game at that pro level, we would be able to potentially grow the league itself, if that makes sense. And I love Athletes Unlimited. I think the structure is a little weird with the point system and all that, and then not having like team camaraderie and not necessarily being able to put on like a jersey for a team that you're rooting for all the time, or like I don't know if necessarily that sells long term. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean I'm rooting for it either way. But it's just so interesting the way that I've only been a part of the game for 9 years. And in the 9 years that I've been a part of the game, I've seen 3 different pro leagues, 4 different pro leagues. And so just as an outsider looking in, it's hard to gain a fan base outside of your hardcore fans when that's what's going on. And so I think everybody talks about, what is the long-term answer? What's going to be the solution to get, number one, the athletes that are performing, the quote unquote entertainment for the fans, right? How do you get them paid? And then from there, how do you continue to grow the sport?
Right.
So I guess like you probably get more of an insider knowledge on that subject, just being around people playing in pro ball and being around the people that talk about this kind of stuff all the time, and people that are closer to those inner circles where decisions are made about the pro league. So I guess my question then would be, what are some of those things that are being said? And if there isn't anything along those lines, like, what do you think would be better?
Well, I think to start, what would be better is the fact that we don't even have to choose this summer. Because, and I don't really know like the context of where it came from or how it came about or what, but, and granted, at one point I had no contract whatsoever. I had no decision to make whatsoever. And then the next minute I kind of had to like, all right, well, what do I want to do? And it's tough. So I think to start, not having to choose, I think all of us should be able to play both leagues this summer. I think it only makes pro ball exposure that much longer when you have a full length season in one league and a full length season in another league, whether it's back to back, whether there's gap weeks in between, whatever. And again, I don't know where this all came about or like how the crossover happened or who made what initiative, but I just think it sucks altogether that we have to choose because in the other side of things, we're not getting paid. So an issue is we can't have all these spots or teams or whatever, because there's no money to pay for those spots and those teams and whatever. And it just sucks, because how are we ever going to grow if we can't find money? And at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to money. And that's just the stupid part, because in order to get it going and the ball rolling, I mean, someone's going to have to get the shit end of the stick at some point. That's just point blank period. You know, we're all going to have these really, really small salaries and sacrificing a lot of our time and our bodies and our energy in order to get it going. But again, I think there's some people that are playing for their own means to say, I'm a professional softball player and I'm getting paid this much to do it. And
Right.
there's other people that are like, all right, like, you know, lack of a better term, fuck it all, and we're just going to play because we want to grow the game. Like, I would love to get paid more, but I think I love playing softball at this age more than I really care about the money part of it. And that'll
Right.
come. That'll come when it comes. And I don't think everybody thinks that way. And that's also just a business thing. I mean, not everybody in the business world thinking that way. I'm not going to throw this much money at something that might be, and it may or may not turn out that way. So I think to start, in order to get pro exposure, we just can't have this choosing stuff. We can't. And again, like, to beat out that middle tier, having to fight for their whatever, and having more spots open, which creates more softball players, which creates more teams, which creates more opportunities for like other people to play, more people to get their name out there, more people to like just show what they have. Because I know there's a lot of people that aren't done yet, that are kind of forced to be done because there's just a lack of opportunity. That's where it starts. But like, I don't think that there's enough, and with good reason. You want to be paid for your efforts, but I just don't think there's enough united sacrifice to just say, all right, we're just gonna bite the bullet on this one, and if you really love it, you really love it. But
I think, and this could be, you guys can chime in on this, like, when they're making you choose, we're splitting up the best players and making the leagues weaker. And I think there's a lot of players out there that can play. And I think obviously we're seeing it in the regionals and the supers in the conferences. Like every year when the World Series is coming, we're seeing the numbers. We're seeing what softball can get. But the issue is, like, we need the MLB to come down and help out like the NBA helps out, or we need somebody to put that time and money in. And we need areas where, okay, let's choose 8 destinations, whether it's like Alabama, Michigan, all these little, like, not big areas like Chicago or Vieira and that kind of stuff, where there's nothing you're competing against in the summer. Let's, and make it affordable for fans and let them come in. And okay, now we have 8 teams. We have a jersey to wear, like you said, Tuna, and we have somebody to root for and teams to root for and this and that. But we also have the backing of whoever. And with that being said, also putting down the egos when it comes to it. And, oh, my league's going to be this, my league's going to be this. Oh, we don't need help from this. Because I know at one point the MLB did reach out. And really allowing you guys to thrive and know where you're going and seeing where you're going, but also playing on a softball field. Why are we playing on baseball fields and putting fake fences up and worrying about mounds and this and that? We 100%. Are playing softball, and softball obviously sells. Look at we're number 3 in revenue last year, above baseball in the college. So, and why is the College World Series still being played on a men's fast pitch field? And we're putting up fake stuff. Like, we're putting all this money in that's just building up that too. Like, can we get a stadium built around softball? Like, for instance, when I was at TAM UCC last year, the baseball coach went. He has a daughter, 12-year-old daughter. He went to the World Series and was like, dude, I waited in line to go to the bathroom for 5 innings because it wasn't. And he's like, it could have been 10 times better. And he's like, I've been to both of them, and this place is awesome. Like, this is just unbelievable, the atmosphere. It shows what you girls have built. So now at that next level, why are we breaking it apart? Why aren't we just picking these towns to play in for a few months they're going to back you. And obviously we see them get back during the season. So let's
Yeah.
pick a place like Alabama to have one, Michigan to have one, Arizona State to have one, whatever
And I will
it is.
I will say that the WPF, that's like kind of the trail that we're on. I just think, I'm not too sure like what the exact thing is, but I mean, we obviously couldn't just throw 8 teams together within a year. So, I mean, you know, I think that that's just the trail. That is the trail that they're on, is you're going to have a certain team in a specific city, and we're going to travel to each other, and we're going to play all over the United States, and we're going to have series against each other, and then we're going to have this big playoff thing at the end of the season and whatever. And it's going to be like a more traditional setting, MLB type. And that's where I think Athletes Unlimited is also really freaking cool, is, you know, you can put together, you know, the best of the best and kind of figure out who, like, how they rank against each other. And I think it's an awesome idea. But like, both of these ideas are only so much more awesome if they can coexist. Because, you know, while Athletes Unlimited is fun, it does sometimes lose that like team aspect. And I have admired in my 2 years playing with them how tight and close a team can get within a matter of barely a week spending with each other. It is cool. I've gotten really, really close to people I didn't even know the week before in a matter of days. And I do think that part is really, really, really unique. And I think the whole format is really, really unique. But, you know, you do get tired of, okay, like you said, I can't put on I can't identify with a team. Like, I can't show some pride for a specific team because everybody's changing. It's a colors system. It's not, you know, this team, this roster all the time. Versus, you know, this more of a traditional setting. And like I said, both ideas, amazing, great, create opportunity, but for the sake of softball, would be a million worlds better if we could coexist and not have to choose between the two. So that's just my 2 cents. But I
mean, they do have a wins above replacement stat that I think correlates pretty well to the points that get accumulated in the AU league. And so if that was like implemented in a pro league, that was more nationwide and collective with all the players, I think that kind of is a way that both scoring systems could coexist. But yeah, I don't know which is more likely to take over. I mean, I know AU's got the ESPN deal, and so that's pretty huge for exposure. But yeah, I'm really curious to see where that's gonna tailor off to.
Yeah, I know. And I just
go
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know what has me excited, and for everyone out there who's not around softball on a daily basis and all that, like, it is such a tight-knit community, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, whether it's all of that. And what has me so excited is just being around and being down at Pro Swings, or being, you know, at the NFCA or whatever it is, and just seeing the bond you girls are getting, and how close you guys are getting, and how much you're pushing, and how much voices you guys are getting when it comes to all of this. Like, I've learned so much just listening, being around all y'all, and see that push, and see how excited you are to build something for the next generation, even though you might not see the benefits of it. But I think that's the biggest thing of, you guys are putting on a show, and softball is amazing right now, obviously. But knowing the repercussions and knowing what's not at the next level, but still pushing and doing what you guys are doing, and giving up your time, giving up your energy, giving up all of this and your finances and whatever it is, and still pushing to drive this, just shows the character of all of you. And it's cool seeing that. It's cool seeing you come and hit and put that time in to do this. And I know, I think softball has got a super bright future, and that's because of all of y'all building it and trusting this process. And I know, like, in 10, 15 years, hopefully they're praising you guys for building it. It's just like the WNBA is building right now, and all these other sports. Like, you guys are putting that word out there and pushing it.
And I know one of our main initiatives too is to continue to grow the game, even from getting male fans to come and watch. Like, normally people that wouldn't be watching the games just because they haven't been exposed to it, we're hoping to target some of that audience and bring them in so that we have more opportunity for the softball platform, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Definitely one of our main initiatives going into this is like, obviously we're two guys doing this softball podcast. Like that's not necessarily something you see all the time. And, it's because we love the game. We've been around it, and we've been fortunate enough to meet really great people like yourself, and are just passionate about, showing this platform to others. So hopefully we're able to do that.
I think it's definitely going to do that for sure.
And obviously it's just giving back to you guys. We want everybody to see how great this game is and how it is. Like we came baseball side, we played college ball, all that kind of stuff. But like this game is so much better than baseball. Like, and that's just what it is. Like, that is what it is. Like, if people get into it and see it, how fast paced it is, how great you guys are, how all that kind of stuff. It's just insane. Like the building up it. I know Mike still talks about it and watches it, and he was around you guys for like a month. And he's Mike Yasinka Tuna is one of my former players who is in the Cardinals organization, and he always watches this now. And he was just around them for, I don't know, 6 weeks, a month at Pro Swings. And it was like, oh my God, like softball, I didn't realize. And that's hopefully what we're pushing. And we hopefully get you guys on here and just keep building and start something that allows people to listen and get to know you guys. And that's why, like, I wanted to get you on here because the personality, and like we were talking about the personality, you'd be the person out there that everybody would be drawn to, and just the flashy shoes, the flashy play, all that kind of stuff, and just customizing everything. And like, that's like the Javi Baez or whatever of softball. And that's what we want to get on here and allow you guys to just show that personality and show what you guys have and who you are.
And I know too, I want to get you back on the podcast sometime and just talk hitting.
Absolutely.
That compact turn you got, the compact lefty swing, that pure swing that Zig's talking about. He showed me the home run derby video earlier.
Oh gosh.
I was like, he robbed you. He robbed you on those last 3 front toss pitches.
I know. I had put a lot of faith in him, and he just tanked under the pressure.
I know. You were what? No, you went down by 1 home run or something, and Zig's last 3 pitches were up and out.
He was great. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's front toss. It's so hard to hit a home run every pitch. And I was like, no. Like, we'll just do, like, I just need 10 good pitches. Hopefully we hit them all out, and we're not going to do the whole thing Jesse Warren was doing. No way.
She's throwing her shoulders out and rotator cuffs. And
I was like, listen, we're going to skip
even
all that.
Yours. I was like, this is an incredible pace. I was like, I could never imagine doing that.
It was tough. And those fences low-key are far, or maybe I'm just losing it, but felt like I was really swinging that thing.
Yeah. They're like 220 the whole way around, I think.
Yeah, ridiculous. And thick air. Arizona State could never.
But for sure, we definitely
fences, thin air. My
place. We would love to get you back on here at some point. Talk. Right now, we're really just trying to show everybody. We would love to talk hitting and get into in depth on hitting, and
we could do a whole different tangent on that. Yeah, for sure.
And I know. I kind of think like you, and when it comes to the hitting, and just, I would love for anybody, because I know there are, us being where we are and where we've been, there's a lot of people listening to this, and hopefully some younger prospects or girls that want to make it and can learn something from just your knowledge that you've built through endless great hitting coaches, but also the hours that you've put into your own swing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for that one.
Right on. Me too.
Tuna, you got anything?
No, I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to the next one. Thanks so much for hopping on this one. Had a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I
could just blabber on and on and on, so thanks for listening.
I'm glad my voice doesn't sound completely messed up with this whole COVID thing. I guess day 3, I'm feeling good now.
Yeah.
But, right on. Thanks for coming.
We appreciate it. Thanks again. And I know this one's going to take off, so I appreciate your time and jumping on the softball podcast with us.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks for checking out the Softball Podcast with Zig and Tuna. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To connect with the boys, check out @Zig and Tuna SB on Instagram and Twitter. We'll see you next time.